The main idea of Green School is to create young people and teachers who all want to go out and make a difference in the world. The most important part is actually the mindset of innovation, so the mindset of a problem solver, and that challenges are fun. That's really exciting.
The idea is if you can learn to care for the thing that you love, that could be part of your day-to-day habits, that could be part of your school system, that could be part of your way of being, your way of life, then that's a really strong example for other people.
And often what we see is that the education system is focusing on what is happening after school. So students are prepared to go to university, for example. But in the Green School, we're learning how we are integrating the real world with education.
Well, my dream of the Green Educators course is that enough educators will take these seeds around the world and plant them so that educating for sustainability is not something as an add-on to some schools, but something that is at the core of all schools.
Come and sit down. Hello, hello. This section of the programme, we're going to be talking about the Sustainability Spotlight. As Saku explained, the Sustainability Spotlight is the first thematic spotlight that HundrED have run. Saku and I were in Los Angeles earlier this week, presenting the work and the findings to, along with Muse School in California. So we made the trip from 30-degree heat there to kind of a slightly chillier place here. And so to give you a bit of kind of history, I came to this project as a secondary science teacher in the UK. I'm also involved in academic research at the University of Cambridge. And what I met through the people that I interacted with at HundrED is that they mirrored the same passion that I have. And that is that through research and through seeking out these innovations, we can forward change from a grassroots perspective. There's, I think, a gap sometimes between research that's happening and what's happening in the classroom. And so I think HundrED is a really great way, and I'm sure you all agree, to kind of get that conversation going and to get those gaps starting to get narrower and narrower. And our sustainability report is, it's on our website, it's downloadable, please read it, I would love that. And so the process of the report, because it's thematic, it started with a literature review. And in that literature review, what I found was that sustainability, educational, kind of environmental education has been around somewhere since the 1970s, but it hasn't yet trickled its way down into the classroom. And there was a very big change in the 90s that when the terminology moved from knowing to doing. So it's not acceptable anymore for our children just to know about environmental issues. It's not okay that where the measure is just, are they environmentally literate? Now there's an action competence attached with the success of a project, the success of an innovation. Is there a behaviour change in the children? And that's what's really important, and that definitely has been a change since the 1990s. But it still isn't quite widespread in our educational systems. And so, there are gaps, as it says on the screen. There are no specific outcomes for sustainable education. We are focused a lot on assessment and grades and league tables. But it could be because sustainability doesn't have an owner. No one owns it. It's in science, it's a little bit in geography, but no one kind of is taking responsibility on a subject level for sustainability in our schools. The other gap that I found is that there's a big difference between the global north and the global south, and I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a second. So there were three main key findings that came about from the literature search and from finding innovations, and these kind of themes started to emerge. And the first one is that, as I said before, mirrored with the change in terminology that is so evident in the formal academic research literature, is that these innovations are action-focused. The second one is that this is something we've heard from the beginning of this kind of gathering, is that a multi-stakeholder approach contributes to the success of these innovations. So whether it's community engagement, business engagement, parental engagement, youth voice, it kind of takes a village to raise a child, right? And we're just talking about a lot more children and maybe a slightly bigger village of lots of different participants. And this is something that, we have Kekashan up here. She will be talking in her own session. She'll be talking in her own session, but represents the youth voice for our Sustainability Summit. The third finding, and I said I'd come back to this, is the divide between the global north and the global south. So innovations that I found in the global north were more philanthropic. They didn't kind of affect the children's immediate everyday life. So children, it's very much an add-on, extracurricular activities, very different from the global south, where these children are faced with challenges every day. So when they open their front door, if there is not a great waste management system, it does impact their everyday. So the innovations are very dependent on their local context. And the innovations are very reactive to that. So it says here it's kind of essential. It's for their livelihood. And actually a lot of the global north innovations help out and work with the global south. So that's one of the big changes. And one of the big challenges for me as a researcher was finding innovations in the global south that were easily accessible. So when I was looking through formal academic channels, English language is a key factor. Some of these innovations can't access those formal academic channels because they're very much community-based and they don't have adequate English language to be able to advertise on that kind of channel. The other essential thing is that I'm from the global north, searching the global south. So even when I was going incognito on Google, so that they didn't know where I was from, it was still all coming up in English language because that's what I was searching in. Because unfortunately, I only speak English, don't tell anyone. Okay, so that's a fact that when we are researching, it is a contributing factor. And so what we came up with through the same process as what happened with the global list is that we came up with the final 10 innovations, which we celebrated in LA last week. They are all detailed in the report. I urge you to go and read it, have a look at our website, read them and reach out. I think we've spoken a lot about empowerment and community, and I think so much of this, so much of what you guys are doing comes from like a real place of this means a lot to me, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna spend my own money, and I'm gonna use my lunch times and my after school time because it means something to me. And so feedback, I think, is really important. So please do reach out to these guys. And here's a map. I mean, it's kind of indicative of what I said about the Global South. And as I said, we've got Kekashan here. She's going to be speaking about her innovation, Green Hope Foundation, later on. And we've got the world's largest lesson, Kim Vara from the world's largest lesson, who's going to now speak about the innovation.
Hi guys, so my name's Kim Vara. I am the content and curriculum manager at World's Largest Lesson. And World's Largest Lesson is a global schools program that helps to get kids to be inspired and to take action for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We call them the Global Goals because slightly catchier title. But I just wanted to ask you guys, if you could just maybe raise your hand if you know what the Global Goals are or the SDGs are. Okay, amazing, because I often speak at places and nobody knows what they are, so it shows how much more work we have to do. So World's Largest Lesson aims to empower and inspire kids everywhere. It's a global program to take action for the goals. We are partnered with UNICEF, so we work with them to make sure that we try and reach every child. And I'm so glad in the earlier discussion someone talked about being naive, and that's how you can make an innovation work, because that is very definitely the path that I have come to this through that. Because we said from the beginning our dream is for every kid to know what the goals are and to take action for them. But as the content manager, that then means I manage all our content and what we make. And we have all of our pieces in over 55 languages, which is kind of difficult and insane to manage when you don't know what some of these languages are. So that's one aspect of what we do. And I think the thing is with the goals and sustainability and the SDGs is that there's 17 of them. They have 193 targets and 253 indicators. So it can seem very overwhelming for teachers to get on board with. So what we do at World's Largest Lesson is we try and make it seem as easy as possible. We have decided to take a very broad approach, so we are broad and not very depth, because we think that, as people were saying earlier today, you have to listen to what the people and the communities you're reaching out to want. So the content that we make is animations, films, comics. We work doing global competitions with UNICEF to get kids involved in the issues of sustainability, but we would never tell anybody what to do, because that just doesn't work. And also, we are not the experts. We are just trying to create content and things that are engaging and exciting for students to see, and then to take action for that. And we have decided to do this to make sure that it seems easy, fun, and approachable. All our resources are free and open source, and we also wanted to make sure that teachers were involved in this process. I used to be a teacher, and although sometimes you're surrounded by 30 kids in a classroom, it can seem quite isolating sometimes being a teacher, because especially if you're in a school or a situation that doesn't maybe have the same values as you are. So I came to the issue of sustainability through that pathway, because we've heard from so many teachers that when they teach the goals, the kids in themselves not only realize there's all these people in the world who are taking action around the issues of sustainability, and they kind of find their community and their people amongst that. So that's been a really added benefit for us. Yeah.
Thank you. One thing that I wanted to mention as well that I forgot is that I wanted to invite Kinvara and Itu. Did I say that okay? Okay, good, I've been practicing. So I wanted to invite them to the stage because they come from a different perspective. We've learned, or we've heard over the last day or two from innovators who have championed the change themselves, whereas World's Largest Lesson and Eco Schools, which is what we're going to hear about in a minute, are very, very big organisations. And so Kinvara and Itu have come into a big organisation. They've chosen that path as a place to work, as opposed to developing something themselves. And I think that's a good kind of reminder to hear from. So let's hear from Itu.
Yeah. Hi, so my name is Itu. I'm from Helsinki, and I work at the Eco Schools program, especially in the Finnish Eco Schools network. So the Eco Schools program actually is not a new innovation. It's already quite old. Next year, the Eco Schools program turns 25 years. It was founded after the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio, when environmental educators around Europe thought that we need a big worldwide program to address these issues in a school setting. So the Eco Schools program started in Denmark and has since then spread all over the world. So at the moment it works in 68 countries, and we have over 20 million students and teachers involved in the program. Here in Finland, we started 20 years ago, so quite a while ago as well. And I must say, it was not me who started it, personally. It was not my own innovation. I've been working with the Eco Schools program in Finland for 3 years now. But a little bit about my background. So I actually got this environmental awakening as I was a teenager in a small Finnish town where I lived. And back then, not so many teenagers were actually concerned about these things, aware of these things. At least that was my experience. I was quite alone with my concern for the world. But luckily, in this small town where I lived, we had a youth nature club that I could join, and there besides me were 2 other girls of my age who were interested in the same issues, and we organized different activities together. For example, demonstrations, movie nights, showing environmental movies in the local library, different kinds of things. And I think for me that was really essential to make me feel somehow empowered to be able to act myself somehow with these issues, to make the world at least a little bit better, to make some change in the local setting. And I think what has changed since then is that these days young people, teenagers, are more and more aware of the multiple environmental problems in the world, the sustainability problems overall. At least here in Finland, I read that nowadays there's been some research that over half of the teenagers are concerned about these issues. But this concern is not yet enough. It's not productive in itself. The young people, they need ways and channels to act, to be active, to be part of the change. And this is where the Eco Schools program can help. Because in Eco Schools, environmental education, sustainability education is done in a very student-led way. So the students are in the core of the action, and they get to actually do things themselves and get experiences of changing the world. That's the most important thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, please do come and speak to these guys about the work they're doing. But throughout everything, the main message is that all of the innovations that we found are very student-centered. They follow the ideas of the students and the children, and to make meaningful and deep learning and meaningful change. We're going to leave you with one more film for an innovation called Engineering Brightness. So enjoy.
Our idea for Engineering Brightness is to create a network of involved students really around the world to design, manufacture, and distribute lights for those that don't have light after dark.
The reason that I am so passionate about this innovation, it's one of the first times that I've seen kids passionate about their learning, kids demanding to learn more because they know their learning matters, because they're no longer just learning for me or for their parents or for the grade. They're learning because people are depending on their learning.
We come in and we kind of separate into our own groups. So we have like communication groups, which is more video production and spreading the word. We have the actual assembly, prepping the actual lantern cases, and then we end up putting everything all together and we ship out the lanterns with people that actually are going to those countries or that are doing it for their companies that do that.
The biggest reason I want to use this innovation is to give people a chance to work together, to see the power in global collaboration, to merge engineering with passion, and to really make a difference, to not only distribute lights worldwide, but to have the light inside of each person start to shine and realize that when they shine their lights, lots of good things can happen, not only inside of you for good, but in your community and then in the greater community as well.
John Dewey taught us 100 years ago that learning and doing are inseparable. They go together. That's one thing that's exciting about Engineering Brightness is it's learning and doing. 85% of students in this country have an interest in science and engineering. Most of them are excited about learning science and engineering so they can do something good for the world. So that altruism is another opportunity to enhance learning. And so Engineering Brightness combines learning by doing, and it combines altruism together, which is pretty powerful learning. It enhances learning in a pretty big way.